Hi guys, welcome to the Epic Aesthetic. This is high intensity training vlog number 10. So basically I'm back. I haven't posted videos in a little while, been busy working on an online training product I want to bring to market soon. But I decided to get back into the vlogs as I find it's good to focus my training and also I find the videos helpful for myself in terms of just seeing how my form's going and making sure everything's in order. Obviously when you're lying on the bench it can be very hard to judge how you're progressing, and a good bit of video from a good angle can show you a lot about what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. So basically the new routine, I've really tried to simplify things a lot. I've dropped a little bit of the pre-exhaust work, basically just to keep it simple, you know. Some still in there, but essentially I've probably halved the amount of pre-exhaust I used, and it just speeds up things in the gym and maybe keeps your focus a little bit more pure in terms of just big movements and progression. So kicking off chest week, this is part A of my chest routine. I've got the decline Smith press. Basically this is a great muscle builder for that sort of bowl of the chest region. You know, Dorian Yates sort of recently in the last few years in a lot of his videos said he wished he did a lot more decline pressing during his pro career, because, you know, he basically says it's the ultimate chest builder or pec builder. So I've sort of taken that on board with this routine and just opened up with a big heavy lift, and works quite effectively. So basically again it's just that 4-2-4 form, actually 4-4 form on this one, so I just pause momentarily at the top. And what you'll see here is I'm keeping quite an exaggerated bend in my elbows, and I'm trying to do this a lot more with the routine, especially when not doing pre-exhaust. So this keeps the triceps not out of it. Obviously it's a big tricep exercise as much as a chest movement, but it keeps the tension on the chest a lot better. If you lock out, you'll find you take the tension off the chest muscles, and your development will suffer accordingly. And just to finish off chest here, I did 6 to 10 reps on that last exercise to failure, and did a rest pause, and then just to finish off with an exercise that hits you more sort of in the contracted position. So I'm always reluctant to say, oh, this will build the inner chest, but you know, in a some sense, I think it does, just from experience. It's good to have exercises that sort of differently or stress the muscle in a different manner. So just to finish off the chest, do some machine flies. Big fan of machine flies just because they keep my arms traveling in a better arc. I have always had a bit of a left-right imbalance issue. I think it's mainly a nervous issue and coordination sort of thing. So I find that machines like this really help me sort of move as evenly as I can, because the path's a little bit more fixed than, say, a dumbbell fly. But the important technique points here are just make sure you're slow and controlled. For me, that's 4 seconds up and down, and big heavy 2-second contraction in the contracted position. So when those hands come together, squeeze the living hell out of them. Don't stop the exercise, don't pause there, keep pushing those fists together and really exhaust those muscle fibers. It's always important when training the body to really be conscious of what muscle you're working out, and to find ways to raise the intensity of your work. Try to find ways to perform exercises in a manner that keep your muscle fibers always activated and working their hardest, because that's going to elicit a growth response. If you sort of find parts of the lift where you can chill out and stop firing, and a lot of people will do that, and I obviously would have done that back in the day. You'll rest in certain positions where the lift's easy, and you don't want to do that. It's ineffective. It's a waste of your time essentially. So just find ways to perform exercises, tweak your exercises, play with the range of motion, so that that muscle's under tension at all times. But again, with HIT theory, a lot of guys might say these two exercises back to back could be redundant, and I basically have the theory that hit things from different angles, And if you're progressing with 2 or 3 exercises for one body part constantly, it's a good chance that what you're doing isn't redundant and you're tracking the fibers through a different path. But if you find, your second or third exercises on the same body part aren't improving week to week, even though your initial exercise is, it's a good sign that you've already hit those fibers sufficiently hard enough to grow, and you should drop those exercises off. So rarely will you see me go above 2 or 3 exercises per body part. So for chest there, it's just 2 exercises. That's it. 2 sets to failure, 1 on each exercise, and that's it for chest. So chest is finished now, and I'm hitting the machine overhead press, or machine shoulder press, machine delt press, whatever you want to call it. If I can find one in a gym, I prefer to use like the hammer strength gear. It's isolateral, so you work each side separately. But if you don't have that, your generic machine press, they all work much the same, and they all work pretty good. But just some of the technique points again is keep that bend in your elbows. Try and just don't force the weight onto your triceps, and give those delts a rest. Keep that bend. So as you can see here at the top, I've still got quite a nice bend there in the elbow, and I'm really just drawing up with the shoulders, and obviously the traps would come into play a little bit at the top there, but that's the best way I think to perform a delt exercise. So I just do a set to failure. 6 to 10 reps is my rep range on most upper body exercises, and 4-4 is the basics with this. I don't really hold for 2 at the top here. I just sort of get into position and start coming down. And the reason for that is a lot of the weight shifts onto the triceps at the top. So you got to think about what you're exhausting in that top position. I just got 1 on the rest pause there, and that's fine. Progress from the week before, and that's the aim of the game. Consistent rep form and improving week to week. That's all you need to achieve. Even if you didn't go to failure, as long as those numbers go up, I believe you're going to grow. But I think going to failure and having lots of rest time, so 7 or 8 days in between body parts, is the best way to achieve that. So just to finish off here on the triceps, again, using a machine, I'm a big fan of these hammer strength gears because they're isolateral. They've got that sort of unique cam design, which obviously there's a history there with hammer strength. The son of Arthur Jones invented hammer strength, and Arthur Jones was famous for that nautilus shaped cam, which basically kept the phase of the pulleys in such a way that it was kind of even throughout the stroke. So I'm a big fan of this machine. The loading's pretty consistent all the way through the stroke, and I find that combined with controlled reps just works the muscle a lot better than sort of a lot of machines that have weird sticking points. It's very hard to sort of gauge how you're going with exercises like that. So big fan of this machine. Try it out if you got it at your gym. And one thing you'll notice with how I set up my routines, I don't do sort of compound lifts for triceps at the end, because I've involved them, although not to failure, I've involved them a fair bit, warmed them up a fair bit when doing those decline presses and those overhead presses. It's already sort of worked that sort of outer head of the tricep a fair bit. So when I do triceps at the end of, say, chest and shoulder training, if that's how I've set up my routine, I'll pick an isolation exercise, and usually an isolation exercise that's going to hit that bottom part of the tricep, or the long head as it's called. So when you do sort of pressing movements, you'll feel the outer head of your tricep just cops the brunt of the work, especially with things like dips and stuff. But extension movements like this machine, things like overhead dumbbell extension, some of the rope work, it really hits that long head. And so I really, pick an exercise to target that specifically. Otherwise, just doing a close grip bench would really just be a waste of time. I've already worked that outer head of the tricep sufficiently with the chest and shoulder components. So just to finish off with some ab work, got the machine crunch. So as you can see, that wasn't a lot of work. I got 2 exercises for chest, one for shoulders, and one for triceps, and then ab exercises. So keeping it very simple on this new routine. Probably the simplest I've had it in a lot of time, and I just want to see how it goes. Sometimes just getting back to sort of bread and butter basics, focusing on progression, is the best way to grow. That's going to get you the results you want. Often, and I'm guilty of this, often people program too many tricks into their workout, and their thinking is all about, what tricky exercise combo can I do to get this gaining and that gaining. But at the end of the day, the best new stimulus is more weight, is more load, and that's got to be central to any programming. That's the aim of the game, is to get stronger, but not to trick your strength, not to throw the weights around, but to objectively get stronger at performing basic exercises. That's going to get you what you need, get you them gains. So big fan of this machine, machine crunch. What I really like to do with this exercise is just before the plates touch back down, I stop. I never let them touch. And I find at that position in this exercise, those abs are just working incredibly hard. So that's just a little hack I do with a lot of machines. I never let the weight come to a rest. I stop and reverse the motion just before it bottoms out and keeps the intensity high. So thanks for watching, and please like, share, and subscribe.